Hello, I'm Pharmacist Keith. I want to stop and tell you a little bit about myself and how I came to the career of pharmacy and nutraceutical business. Prior to choosing pharmacy as a career, I held various positions in marketing arena. In my last marketing position, I had a financial services business. Now, my client mix had a large number of senior citizens, and it always intrigued me how, on one hand, I had a group of seniors that were healthy and vibrant, and then on the other hand, I had clients that were frail and always ill. Now, one day I was sitting down with one of my clients. This was an old timer, a retired gentleman. He had once owned one of those old time apothecaries out in the rural area. He began to tell me all about the art of pharmacy, an era of pharmacy that's long gone. In many cases, you were the only and the primary care provider for the patients, and you had a little more flexibility on what you were allowed to do. It intrigued me. For the first time, I actually began to think about the healing arts as a career choice. Now, a short while later, when my wife and I decided to start our own family, the things this old time pharmacist said kept coming back to me. And with a family of our own on the way, I approached my wife about making a career change. We thought about how pharmacy was a very in demand field with lots of job security, income potential was very good, and we could go just about anywhere we wanted and be able to find a job. After a lot of research and prayer, my wife and I decided to take the leap. I quit my job, we moved to the city with the pharmacy school, and made the 6-year commitment to become a pharmacist. Now, while in pharmacy school, I made some discoveries that really had never considered before. The root word of pharmacy comes from the Greek word pharmakon. Now, in the Greek word, it literally has two meanings: medicine and poison. Now, how ironic and how appropriate. Most people don't realize that medications work by altering or poisoning different systems in the body. The key is to design a medication to be as specific as possible to achieve the desired effect. So what we learned in essence is how to control these poisons, how to control the poisonous responses to the medications so we can treat a specific symptom of the disease, and how to control the disease with as few side effects as possible. Now, these drugs don't cure the disease, they just control the symptoms. All drugs have poisonous responses, and people are shocked to hear about all the unwanted side effects. It turns out that one of the leading causes of death in this country is caused by the side effects of pharmaceuticals. It's a third or fourth leading cause of death, depending on which survey that you look at. Now, you can't even turn on the television anymore without hearing a commercial from some law firm that's suing a major drug manufacturer over the side effects of their drugs. There are hundreds of thousands of people that die each year because of side effects of medications. Something else that the people don't realize that we studied in pharmacy school is that we studied nutrition. But we didn't study nutrition from the standpoint of a dietitian. We didn't study nutrition from the standpoint of a nutritionist. We studied nutrition as if it were medicine. We studied the medicinal properties of vitamins, the medicinal properties of minerals, and the medicinal properties of the phytonutrients and antioxidants. We studied the way these substances alter the biochemical processes of the body, how they act medicinally. We also studied disease states as nutritional deficiencies. As it turns out, most every disease that we suffer from, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, Parkinson's disease, most every disease we suffer from in this country, if we trace them back far enough, we find a nutritional deficiency at the root. Even at the point of natural death, that is, death not caused by accidents or criminal activity, we don't actually die of what it says on the death certificate. We die because some organ system somewhere in our body fails because it's not getting fed properly. That is, it's not getting sufficient nutrition. It's not getting sufficient nutrients to get itself healthy and to maintain its health and to heal itself. So we literally die of nutritional deficiencies. So I ask, why don't we have more curative diseases? Because there's no money in a drug company creating a cure when they can collect a fee month after month for a drug that barely keeps us thriving, and the federal government goes after narcotics dealers for this. Now, I had a very good professor in pharmacy school that taught me to take everything a drug company says with a grain of salt. He said that when we're looking at the published medical research, to be sure to also look at who funded the research before accepting anything that was said in the paper. Now, it's important to look at what is the motivation behind the research. What do they stand to gain and what do they stand to lose based on the findings of their research? One day I had a patient come into my pharmacy and said that he heard that fish oil lowers triglycerides and he wanted to know how much to use. Well, I really didn't know what to tell him. There wasn't any information in any of my pharmacy manuals about how much fish oil to take to lower triglycerides. When you looked on the bottle, it just said take 1 or 2 capsules twice a day. I knew that probably wasn't right because all supplements are just labeled according to the minimum daily allowance that our bodies need for survival, not the amounts that we really need to thrive. So I decided to dig into the research. I started finding all these wonderful articles on fish oil published in various obscure scientific journals. Article after article showed how fish oil improved or prevented different medical conditions when taken at the proper doses, most of the time from 6,000 to 9,000 milligrams per day. Then I came across an article in one of the major medical journals. It was published by one of the big drug manufacturers of a cholesterol-lowering drug. This particular article's headline stated that fish oil had no effect on cholesterol or triglycerides. The manufacturer did its study using 1,000 milligrams of fish oil daily, the minimum daily requirement. It didn't look at using fish oil at the higher levels that all the other articles had published. So I asked myself, why would they design a study like this? Then I remember what my professor said. Consider what a company has to gain and lose depending on the outcome of a study. It was in this drug manufacturer's best interest to design a study that would show that fish oil has no effect on cholesterol, since their number one product was a cholesterol-lowering drug. Needless to say, I came back to my patient and told him what I had found out in the research. A short time later, this patient called me back on the phone and told me that the doctor had lowered his cholesterol medications. But to the patient's surprise, he also took him off his blood pressure medication, and the patient told me he had felt better than he had in years, and his diabetes was under better control. This incident with fish oil made me go back and look at other research that said different nutritional products didn't work. Over and over again, I found the same thing. The particular nutraceutical used in the research was chosen because it was either a subtherapeutic dose, meaning the dose was too low, or it was in some dosage form that was not readily absorbable by our body, so our body could use them. Have you ever noticed that a research finding comes out in the news from some scientific journal somewhere that reports that some vitamin or mineral or herb or other nutraceutical does wonders for the body and for some disease state? Then a few months later, another news report comes out about another study published in a major medical journal that states it didn't work. You see, the initial research gets published in some obscure scientific journals, then a major drug manufacturer publishes their counter article in a major medical journal. Then they get their articles into the hands of their drug sales force, who then go out to the doctors and say, according to this article in this major medical journal, this nutraceutical does not really work. So you really need to give your patients our overpriced, side effect laden wonder drug to treat your patients. These companies know quite well that these doctors are overworked and have no time to go out and compare their findings with those in the obscure journals that the doctors probably don't even subscribe to in the first place. So, in pharmacy school, I'm studying drugs as poison, I'm studying nutrients as medicines, and I'm studying disease states as nutritional deficiencies. It just made sense for me as a pharmacist to focus on the medicinal properties of nutrients for healing and prevention. Nutritional pharmacy, using nutrients as medicines. Now I want to talk with you a little bit about 3 triggers to health challenges. When we get right down to it, there are only 3 things that can be traced or to trigger all malfunctions of the body. Everything else is related. Everything comes down to inflammation, immunity, and digestion. There are over 12,000 diseases in the human body. They all have a component. A cause that can be related to or a combination of all 3 of these. Now look closely at your health challenges. No matter what they are, all are basically linked to inflammation and immunity, coming in from the digestive system specifically. Many times then affecting the blood, sugar, or the adrenal system, or some other system of the body. Now once we accept that there are over 12,000 plus diseases, and they all come from the same basic place, that these fundamental biochemical causes are behind every degenerative disease from cancer, heart disease, diseases of the nervous system, diseases of the kidney, diseases of the lymph system, all the ways we age, and most of the ways we die are also connected to inflammation, the immune system, and digestion. The evidence is overwhelming. We can believe this to be true, and there's no compelling evidence to the contrary, or we don't. If we don't, we're just not being rational about it. Think about this for a moment. Traditional medicine never looks at the root cause of a problem. We have arthritis pain, they give us an anti-inflammatory drug. We have reflux, they give us an acid-reducing medication. We have elevated cholesterol, they give us a cholesterol-lowering medication. We have osteoporosis, They give us drugs to stop bone loss. We have high blood pressure. They give us a drug to lower our blood pressure. What do these treatments all have in common? They all treat a symptom. None of them address the root cause of the condition and eliminate the cause. That's why you never get off these medications. By not addressing the cause of your health, your health deteriorates and you take more and more medications. So if we look at all these medical conditions, trace them back to their root causes, we can then address ways to improve these conditions. That is precisely what we were taught in pharmacy school, to decipher the root causes, then educate the patient on how to eliminate those root causes. My mission is to show you that there are biochemical reasons for these conditions and ways to correct them, so we don't have to be committed to the current medical model of just treating a symptom with ever-increasingly dangerous medications that don't heal or improve anything. I want everyone to understand that there is a biological cause, a biochemical etiology, a biochemical beginning, so we can examine our choice in a clear-headed manner, free of the religion of modern medicine. There are options if you dare to explore them. Join me and we'll discover them together. This is Pharmacist Keith. Please join my blog post at KeithAbell.info. That's KeithAbell.info. I'll post some articles over time addressing these different causes, and we'll have a discussion about them as we go along. Thanks again for tuning in.